I love design.
All right, we will start by sharing our screen here. Okay. All right. Cool. Okay, thank you everyone for joining us for our Intro to Brand Design workshop here at VenusHacks. We're super excited to talk a little bit about how to make your projects pretty and like delightful for the user. So we will go ahead and get started. Okay, so before we begin, just some brief intros from Carly and I. So I'm Meghna. I'm currently a fourth-year informatics major, and I'm the president of Design UCI.
And I'm Carly. I'm a third-year business administration major, and I'm currently the vice president of Design at UCI.
Yay! Woo. All right, so just a little bit about Design at UCI. We are the premier UI UX design and graphic design club here at UC Irvine. Our primary goal is to help students, especially designers, connect, learn, and innovate. If you'd like to learn more about our events, please feel free to visit our website, designuci.com, as well as all of our socials. A little bit more about what we offer. As I mentioned before, we primarily delve in graphic design, UX design, and creative software. We have a variety of different events every week, ranging from workshops to speaker events with professional designers, as well as our special programs such as the Design-a-thon and our project teams program for new designers to gain experience to add to their portfolio. So we can start with a little icebreaker since we have some people here. Would someone like to share what their favorite brand is and why? Maybe incorporating some design aspects of it. Yes.
I don't know if you guys know the clothing brand Big Bud Dress, but it's a small business and they use a sunshine logo with a smiley face on it, but then they also incorporate that smiley face in all and a lot of other products that they have. And they also use the sunshine on all of their products, with the label and the buttons and all that. So they have pretty consistent branding across their products, which is cool.
Yeah, that's super cool. Anyone else?
This isn't really anything too special or anything, but since before when I rep my hometown, I really like the Nike swoosh logo.
Okay.
I think it's super recognizable, which is why I think it's one of my favorites. Also, just one of my hometowns, I have to.
Okay, very cool.
I think we all know what that is, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, plus the meaning. Yeah,
Oh,
the
no.
meaning behind the
Yeah.
logo and the branding is also really cool.
Yeah, it is. All right, thank you guys for sharing. All right.
All right, so heading into our first topic, what is brand identity? So brand identity is a collection of all the elements that a company creates to portray the right image to its consumer. So there's some kind of distinctions between branding, which is the marketing technique of shaping your brand and defining your organization, which uses brand identity, but also kind of more with a marketing lens. And then the brand is the perception of the company in the eyes of the world. So basically how brand identity and branding work together to really just see things from a consumer perspective. And why is brand identity important? So first of all, personality, it sets yourself apart from your competitors and from any other brand that exists in the current landscape. Second, it ensures exposure about your product. For example, the Nike logo, just helps it be super recognizable whenever you see a Nike logo on a shoe, or just any ads, because it's so instantly clear what that product or that advertisement is for. Third, it develops trust with your customers, especially if you develop a brand reputation for high quality or high customer service. And consistency. It helps you grow an easily recognizable brand. And for the sake of design and development, Another reason why brand identity is important is because it helps a lot with the consistency when you're actually, developing your software. So you're not like reaching for, oh, what color looks good here. It just like keeps things very simple when you have a set style guide that you can use and pull and just like copy, paste, replicate as many times as you need throughout the development process. So how do I develop a strong brand identity? I'll go ahead and pass it over to Magna.
Okay, so we will be outlining some steps you guys can take in your projects and just like when you're designing or developing that will help you create a good brand identity. We can start with the first one, which is starts even before you touch any software. It would be analyzing your audience in depth and learning about their challenges. This is a very key part of the design process that has like everything to do with creating a good brand identity. So conducting user research by analyzing who your demographic is, what are their needs, what are their frustrations, what motivates them. Some of the key methods that we as designers use are the following, like user interviews, conducting surveys, analyzing data, observations. Doing this in a group setting is very helpful, like especially in a hackathon like this, when you're like bouncing ideas off of each other and like conducting that user research. So that's kind of pivotal in this part. Okay, so the next step will kind of be going like deep diving into this a little more, but the next high level step is developing the key elements of your brand that speak to your audience. So here we've highlighted 4 of the key elements, which are voice and tone, colors, fonts, logo. So we'll be going into each of these more. We'll be talking about like some examples that you guys can pull from and like some resources that you guys can use as well. Okay, so the first element here is voice and tone. When we talk about voice and tone of a brand, the high level question we want to ask ourselves is, how do you want to communicate with your audience? So you want to be thinking about like, what is the purpose of your product and what is like the overarching mission of your brand? And as Carly mentioned before, how do you stand out from your competitors? Something that could be useful to do here is like a competitive analysis maybe. And you kind of want to think about some of the adjectives you want to use to describe your brand. We'll look into some cool examples later of that. And then from a consumer's perspective, you want to look at how what their perspective of your brand would be and how they would describe it. And then you also want to look at what kind of emotions you want your brand images to invoke within your users. Okay, so we're going to look at Apple versus Slack. I think all of us have used both of these, but they do have very different brand voice and tones. So we can begin with Apple. So I've just pulled this little screenshot that I think kind of gives us a glimpse into the voice and tone of Apple's brand. So does anyone want to take a stab at how they would describe it? Maybe just like a few adjectives. Or even pulling from your own personal experience with Apple.
Sleek.
Sleek, yeah. Yeah. What was that? Quick, okay. Yes. Yes, yeah. Confident, yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Minimalistic.
Minimalistic, simple. Yep, definitely. Yeah, those are all great adjectives. That's pretty much what I was going to say as well. So even when we look at Apple's website, which we'll be doing later, we can see that they have a very like simple UI. The way they market their brand is very like, okay, we are the best, like in the business type of thing, and they have that confidence. So that's kind of what they're going for. And kind of in contrast, if we look at Slack, I know it's a little bit hard to see, but even if you've used it on your own before, how would you describe the voice and tone of Slack? Yes. Vibrant, yep.
Probably way back, you know?
Especially their LinkedIn presence. It's kind of funny. Yep. What was that? Sorry. Friendly. Yep. Yeah.
It seems more user focused. They use the term your.
Yep.
Or you.
Yes. So they have your digital HQ or headquarters. Focus your time on your terms. So they take a very humanistic approach and they want to talk to their users like one-on-one to kind of form, I guess, like a closer bond with them. So yeah, but two kind of different ways of approaching voice and tone, but they both seem to be equally successful. So. All right. So the next key element that we'll be touching on is the use of color. So color can be super tricky. Even like for developers, I can't even imagine, but even as designers, like it is very difficult to even begin to touch like color palettes and stuff, but it's very important in like evoking certain voices and certain tones within your brand. Some things that you want to think about creating when dealing with color are different palettes. So what are your like few primary colors and then like secondary colors, as well as what colors you're using for your text, maybe your background colors, and then status colors. So by status colors, I mean anything that is like present in your app, such as like warning signs, which are usually red or yellow, and then like success colors like green, or like disabled colors like gray. And on the right here, you can see like a quick snapshot of how brands use color. So just to call out a few here, red, for example, is seen as a very powerful, passionate color. It's also, as I mentioned, used to indicate like an error or warning. And then in contrast, green is a little more subtle and it's shown, or it's like used to show refreshment, care for the environment. And then purple is seen as like luxurious and creative and maybe nostalgic. So we can go back to Apple for a second. If we look at their website, we can see that they use a lot of black and white, like an overwhelming amount. And we can say that like this is to convey simplicity, cleanliness, a very minimalistic look, as well as like a little bit of like exclusivity, like, oh, it's like Apple, and like some freedom as well. And then if we look at this T-Mobile advert, we can see that they use like a very bright color, this bright pink, which can kind of signify like a more fun energy as well as youthful. We can even see that in the advert, there's like millennial looking people. So it seems like to be targeted towards that user group. And it, as a result, can be described as like more edgy. Okay, so a big part, as I mentioned before, colors is creating a color palette that aligns well with your brand. Here are a few color schemes that you guys can utilize as part of your projects. The first is complementary. These we see a lot in sports teams, for example, golden purple with the Lakers. Usually complementary colors have the highest contrast because they sit right across each other on the color wheel. So it's a great starting point if you're like unsure about what colors to use. Next, we have analogous. These colors there's usually like 2 or 3, and they're usually right next to each other on the color wheel, like red, orange, yellow. An example of this would be like the MasterCard logo. And then next we have triadic. So triadic colors are evenly spaced, 3 of them on the color wheel, red, blue, yellow. An example would be the Burger King logo. And then monochromatic. This one, I feel like is probably one of the easier ones to start out with, since it deals with only one actual color, but like different shades of it. So we have navy blue and then sky blue. And yeah, one thing I would recommend is in your projects to stick to like start off with 2 colors, and then if you want, you can work on a 3rd one if you feel like confident, but yeah, try to like minimize the number that you use to begin with. Okay, so we're gonna play a little game. This one is really fun. So You can access it on your mobile device or your laptop. It's color.method.ac. Essentially, it'll take you through like different levels and you'll try your best to like match the color in the center. The top 3 scorers will get a prize. It's just candy, but yeah, still a prize. Yeah, you can set maybe like 5 to 8 minutes for this.
I'll go ahead and set a timer for 8 minutes, but if we get people scoring more quickly, we'll go ahead and end it there.
Yes, then I will turn on the music.
You wanna cash it?
Wait, go through this part. I lied. This. Wait. Thing. A lot. So. One perfect. Gaslighting this way.
I think Dave gets pretty difficult later. Like that's the dress.
I think it's really close. Wait, what? Pause. Wait, that's not a thing. What's this? Why is it so hard?
I agree. I found that like I'm really bad at matching green colors.
Oh, are you?
Slightly, yeah.
I got word.
Perfect, nice. Oh, gosh.
Good, that's very cute. Yes, I mean.
Bridge.
And now, just read. Wait, I'm scared of design now. Never mind. It's triple. It's not itself.
Bro got hit with an average.
I got hit with that like 2 minutes
I got
ago.
hit with that 4.
Another 15.
We're so bad.
Let me try it. Oh no. Same. Yeah.
I just need to beat my earlier score.
Dude, our earlier score was
They were
so bad.
so bad.
Difference.
I got the 4.
Raising up for the good scores. I don't think that's being a deal.
Bro got a taste of being a designer. He said I'm good.
Speed run happens. Blue. I just colorblind. Team, I don't know color. Do it outside, give me fun. Right now with this, I'm like about to go on my phone. Possibility. Okay, I got it.
Yeah, it should give you a score.
Okay, you might be good. I got it. I got it.
No, you didn't. That's cat. You got either 6 something or 7 something.
Yeah, I
I thought I was good.
He did better than me.
Hey, nice.
I'm like colorblind. What? Okay, I mean, I think you're definitely the top 3 scorers. Oh, it's just a horizontal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, it's not responsive. That's an L. No, because you said so. It's like it has to be 6 or 7.
Do you wanna,
8.3?
like, minimize it a little?
Wait,
I think it's 8.3.
I think it's
Wait. I won't zoom out, but I think that's maybe.
Yeah, that's that's a, it's like, oh, I did zoom out.
7.5. I've improved by 1 point.
I think I've gotten better. I was just like. Okay, 6. So 8.3. It's the best one so far.
Yeah.
3, 8. That's so good. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. 8.3, 8.28. You're 3rd place now.
Yeah.
I need you to be me, Grace.
Oh, 8.2.
If you want, it's not responsive.
That's so bad.
Yeah, nice.
So I can get out.
It's kind of done, so I'm not getting that far.
Are we past the 8 minutes? Am I right?
Yeah, pretty much.
It doesn't help that.
All right. So we have a 8.3 and then 8.2 and then 8.2. Okay.
Nice. Congrats on,
Okay, you guys
Um,
get candy at the end.
congrats on beating both of the workshop.
Yay, you beat both of us. All right, let's continue. Hopefully that was a little fun. I think we have another game later, but yeah. Right.
All right, so next up, we've got fonts. Basically, what fonts evoke the voice and the tone of your product. So these can be used in headings, subheadings, body, caption button, your subtitle, your logos. And then, there are just different types of fonts, like different categories that all give different vibes. So you can look at these different categories as well and help narrow down without having to scroll through like defonts.com for like 2 hours, because who has that time to a hackathon, right? But first off, there is serif. So these are really classic, timeless fonts with, the serif at the ends of the letters. So that little vertical part at the C's, the little like hats on top of the L's. There's also sans serif, which is basically letters that don't have the little hats on the ends of the letters. So these are often a lot more modern feeling, and they're honestly, as modern kind of, you can kind of infer from modern, they're used in a lot more packaging nowadays. So bold, these are like slab serif fonts. They're more bold. They come with the hats at the ends of the letters as well, but not in the same kind of like thin style of serif fonts. You've got scripts. So these are like the calligraphy type, really elegant looking fonts, usually found on like wedding invites and sometimes on Canva. And then there's also handwritten. So these are super informal, again, appearing on more fun types of, whatever kind of product or design that you're looking for. And there's also decorative. So decorative is honestly really broad, but these can be more dramatic, especially if you're looking for a certain type of look that isn't encapsulated by the other types of categories. So if we look at the bottom right of the screen, we have this rebrand of Chobani. And the second one honestly seems like tailored to a newer, younger audience, and potentially a more female leading target audience as well. We can see with this by like the C's getting a little more like curvy instead of just like flat and thin. It looks more friendly, especially with the not super hyper realistic photographs of a strawberry at the center, but they're like dotted around the package. There's like more text. It's not as rigid. So all of these kind of like design choices help broadcast the brand and any new changes that were made in order to target and reflect new choices or new people. All right, and so some typography choices. There are still like design decisions and like rules that can help you make, kind of decide which fonts to go with or how to treat them, especially in like apps and websites and software. A good rule of thumb is, combining serif and sans serif. So it's not just like everything looking the same on one page, especially if you want to make the header stand out against the body text. But you can use, like, as we see on the right, Helvetica for the header, but Georgia for the body copy. And you can also avoid similar classifications. So again, this is kind of going off the serif versus sans serif classification, but using like chunk 5 for the header also helps set it apart. And using Lato for the body copy, again, a super different style of text, especially if you're going to read a lot of text in the paragraphs or however you need that to appear. Again, back to the header, really just like having that visual hierarchy, being like super easy to read and distinguish. So you can use like Helvetica, font size 36 for the header, but only 18 points for the body. Again, font weight, making it like black or bold, sometimes even italics, but usually just like making it more visible up top, and keeping it lighter on the body copy. And so now it is time for our second game. If you head over to type.method.ac, you can try a game for kerning. So kerning is basically how you space the text and the fonts and the letters in whatever you're setting, because sometimes they don't always appear the best. For example, if you see a W and an A, especially like the capital A over there ends with a slant to the right, and the W starts with a slant to the right. So some of these like letters do need different treatments, different spacing to make it actually look visually balanced. So kerning is really important in a lot of like graphic design projects and just like taking advantage to make things look right. But if we head over to this game, we're also going to set aside about 8 minutes for it. We're just going to try to evenly space the type so it looks right. And first person to get over 95% gets a prize.
Okay, I'm not. I was just gonna say I'm not entirely sure how difficult 95% is.
The one time where the experience of that, oh shoot. Okay, that's the first time.
Okay, nice.
Okay.
That's a bunch.
I think it just keeps giving different ones. They're taking okay.
I need this.
I actually got 100 on this.
Oh, nice.
Kerning.
Oh, design, not a design, yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. Oh.
I am not dragging this.
Okay.
I keep doing these before I actually move.
It's always hard with the slanted ones because you can like tend to like misjudge how much space you actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
They went by a boy.
wait, no, is it previous or? No shot. I just said we held it to 6-7, but I haven't needed.
It's gonna be something.
I need to planning. We'll say that when everyone needs to. One time ago. Imagine. That's just the way I read over
2 or 3 more minutes.
Okay. They're never gonna.
Well, I think I'm gonna say.
Nice.
Oh, the mall. No.
Did you just stop after a while? That's why I said first person to get 100 or 95. Yay! She's a designer, bro.
Design job.
Okay, you can get like another candy then. 3 times like.
I got 3 times too, like, people.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess there's no minus. What is what is that? What minus? Is that right?
It's the name of the font.
Oh, it's with the font. Oh.
Did you just think there were random words?
No, this is for-
If we get through pieces really quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, you can just tell them the URL.
Or we
Okay.
can, we can do more like this style, where people just like shout it. And we see how long it takes.
Yeah, of course.
Do you want to get your candy?
Oh, yeah.
Have a sugar today.
Oh, you have? Okay. Sounds good.
Oh, I should have made it.
I just have people shout out.
Right, so share it.
Or- Oh,
yeah.
yeah. We're screen sharing.
I didn't even know power.
All right, we're gonna wrap up this game and move on to the next section, which is logo.
All right, and next up, one of the most obvious like signifiers visually about a brand is their logo. So basically, how can you convey your brand's mission, their values, and their personality in a single logo or word mark? And you know, sometimes brands have several of these, especially even like Coca-Cola. They've got their word mark. Apple also has, you know, their literal Apple like pictorial mark, but they also have it literally written out on some places. And Harvard has an emblem logo. But basically, these are all really important for communicating your brand personality, incorporating your brand color palette. For example, for Pepsi, they're pretty recognizable because of their red, white, and blue. You know, just generally being sure to include creating balance, embracing white space, adding repetitive patterns. So these like repetitive patterns are especially like commonly used in like luxury brands. If you ever see like LV bags, those literally just have their logo repeated over and over and over on the fabric, the material of their products. And that's what sets it apart from any other brand that would try to copy it. So even if you had the same same build of the bag, if you have, the LV logo all over it, that's going to signify something completely different than someone else who just has a purse with no logo. So also like using contrast, highlighting a dominant focal point, and establishing hierarchy to guide your viewer through the design. So these are all other like design practices that you can include when creating a logo. And this one, again, I'm going to point towards the Pepsi logo because you can see the movement, in the actual logo itself. You're guided, the viewer's eyes are guided from the left up until the top right. So it's really just like helping move to the next point in whatever their product is. So we're going to do another quick little activity. If we get through this one really quickly, we'll actually go ahead and do a fun quiz style one as well. But out of these 6, we're just going to go from the first one. Anyone wants to shout them out? All right, next one.
Yeah.
Next one.
Oh,
Nice. All right, bottom left. Bottom center.
Lina.
Wait, sorry.
Lina.
Yeah, no.
And then the last one. Nice. All right. I did hear Rue's voice the most in that one.
Yeah.
Very confident with it too. So you'll go ahead and get a prize, but because we went through this in way faster than the 3 minutes, we're actually going to go ahead and do another group quiz style guest logo game.
I think I have to stop first.
Literally just search like guest logo game. Yeah.
Okay, give me 1 second. I'm gonna read. Don't mind my desktop, please. Stop, don't mind it.
Keep it up.
Don't mind it. Don't mind it.
I will be minding
Yeah,
it.
don't mind it. I just take screenshots of everything.
Raina, can I zoom in?
What?
Can I zoom in?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. This is not working. Mine. Yay, let's go ahead and start the quiz here. Magna, your laptop is really laggy, but that's okay.
Zoom.
All right, so from these top ones, let's try to finish it before the 4 minutes runs out. Anyone know the first one? Woo. Next one? Oh,
girl.
that works.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Apple and June.
hey. we got that on recording. I know. Taco Bell.
Nice. Nice.
Steve Jobs is old and very red.
I don't know what that is.
Me neither.
What?
Oh, what's it called?
I think it's like the website.
Oh, nice.
What? Oh my gosh. Someone's been paying attention. Okay,
All
so
right, next one.
Oh.
Nice.
how much time do you have left? This is bad UX. It's not showing us how much time, even though we scroll down.
She stopped the time.
You stopped the timer?
I did not do that intentionally.
Oh, okay.
But oh,
Still
well,
bad
well.
UX.
Hey, yeah.
Pizza Punk?
Hey, we can just mention that.
Yay.
Damn. Daddy Bezos.
I mean, it's BP.
BP, yes. Yes, yes. Good job. Good job. BP. Just
It's
BP.
BP.
Yeah.
Mm.
Mhm, okay.
Fire.
Firestone. I don't think it's like.
Or that's there, I said, no, not the answer. Yeah.
Oh,
No.
it is.
Oh,
What is that?
Is it?
wait.
Oh, okay.
5.5%.
Oh my God.
You're poor lollipop, dude.
All right.
But yay, good job to everyone. We successfully made it through the Guess the Logo games. And now we're going to go ahead and pivot back to brand design. So step 3 of how you can put together your brand identity is really strengthening your brand image through detailed brand guidelines and template. So having a well-defined brand identity helps you communicate what you do and how you do it differently, what you believe in or stand for, and what you represent. So incorporate brand identity in all of your marketing, sales, and customer content, which boosts recognition and loyalty. It also saves time and maintains consistency. So in the context of, VenusHacks, this could mean putting together a style guide at the very beginning of your prototyping work as you're working on that UI aspect, and then into UX and then development, but basically having your set colors, your set text, your set buttons, your set padding, all of that defined at the very beginning makes it a lot easier to replicate and, just zoom through the design process while keeping your brand identity consistent throughout. So here's an example of a style guide. This one's very chic. It's also very aesthetic, minimalist, could go well for, a bakery where you're selling super cute aesthetic cupcakes, that sort of thing. But here we have the colors. Again, they're pretty muted. It's mostly pink, blue, and then some neutral colors. There's a primary logo with some very specific color choices, some specific fonts set aside, and then design elements are already put together in the bottom right. So very much just baking is done out of love to share with friends and family and friends to see them smile. So this is bringing in the mission of the company and the brand. And sometimes in a brand guideline, this is more to do with company brand guidelines rather than, a specific project. But they'll also have very specific guidelines on how not to treat the logo or the brand. So over at the bottom, we can see 2 of them are crossed out. So they really don't want to see BA together, or just Baker Amy with text underneath. Even for the company I work at, which is the Lego group, they want to make sure that the logo always has a certain number of spaces and points around the actual logo itself. And it's never supposed to be on a red background because, it's really important to have that brand identity set apart and stay consistent over any of the products or the packaging that it's on.
Yeah, and just to add on before we jump to the next slide, we were talking about Slack before. They actually also have they have a huge design blog, but they have within that they have copy rules. So like you see here with the design element of the mission, Slack has a similar thing where they want designers or copywriters to use certain key phrases and certain patterns when writing the copy within their product. So something to think about.
All right, and then last up, we have some resources in case you would like to dive a little deeper into brand design and putting together that brand identity for this project or any in the future. So I'm going to hand it back to Magna to cover that.
Yeah, so these are some of the sources that we use today. The games, if you want to revisit any, and then these 4 like articles that we kind of pulled a lot from. And then we also have a bunch of resources here. So stuff to help you find colors and like create color palettes, as well as how to match fonts. And then we have some illustrations that are illustration resources that we have here. All the illustrations from this slide deck are from StorySet. So we highly recommend that resource. And then as you guys know, you will have to present your project tomorrow. So we have a few resources for doing that as well. And then we also have like a larger resources doc. So once we send out the slides, if you want like some more resources, you can access that as well.
You could always just check on our website as well.
Yeah.
Even if you want to find more like slide decks, we have a gazillion, including lots of videos and recordings and lectures and workshops, etc., on our YouTube and social channels.
All right, and then this is the moment everyone's waiting for. Feel free to scan the QR code and put in Brandy Design as a passphrase.
Totally not in reference to brandy wine.
No.
So Randy, what words do you associate with Randy one brand?
Oh, all right. I think everyone got it. Okay, and this is just another like announcement, but next Tuesday at 6 p.m. in DBH 6011, we have a really fun event with Stephen Hassard. He is a UX research manager from Google. So if you're curious about like what doing design at a FANG company is like, feel free to come out and join us on Tuesday. Okay, and yeah, that's the end of our workshop. Thank you guys so much. Yeah. And please visit our website and our Instagram.
And then does anyone have any questions?
Yes. Any questions? And then your Canva thing, we can help you. Yeah. That's all right. Thank you guys again.
Thanks for joining.
Much. This is a lot of